there's no reason why we don't have it. As a matter of fact, I stood up and I spoke my piece on it in front of everybody. I really don't know what else to do, but if there's any other way that I could possibly persuade, influence, vote with, I would do that. So that's my view. You need one too.
Okay, question number 3 will go first to Ms. Weiss, is there?
Yeah,
I'm
you can
sorry.
call me Mary Pat. That's
Okay. All right, so question number 3. The Ohio Republican State Central Committee recently voted to endorse Governor Kasich for president by a 55-9 vote. They followed that up by voting to make the vote unanimous, which also passed 55-9. Do you think that this was an appropriate action? Why or why not?
I think it was an unethical, beg pardon?
Right here. Sorry. I can grab a jacket and just take it off.
Oh, thanks, that's really nice of you.
Wait, hold on, let me.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, Siobhan.
Okay.
I believe that that was an unethical action, that those 9 conservatives who voted not to endorse Governor Kasich for president, their voices were completely then disrespected, ignored, and not heard, as though they were nobody and it didn't count at all. So it was an unethical thing to do. It should have stood the 55-9 count, and it should have never been called a unanimous vote. It's a lie, completely misleading and unethical to have done.
It was a parliamentary, and nobody's going to like this. I'm a lawyer, so I get it. Under the Robert's Rules of Orders, you can make a non-unanimous vote unanimous. It's just true. And that's what was done. So what the fallout is a whole different ballgame. But you can do that under Robert's Rules of Order. I didn't say it did.
No, with all due respect, Dan, my personal opinion is they should take all the lawyers and get them out of politics in this country. No, all due respect, all due respect. I mean, what these people did to this country is unbelievable. They have their own agenda. They're not thinking about us, they have their own agenda. Not Dan. Dan's a nice guy, I like Dan. There's a big problem with the lawyers getting involved in politics. Anyways, what was the question? I'm sorry, conservative part. What was the question?
Did you think it was okay to have it unanimous even though?
No, it wasn't okay. There's a lot of problems down there. There's a big problem. Now, when I ran for a commissioner, I don't know if anybody remembers when I ran, I was with John Kasich. We worked Lake County together. He was running for governor. This guy's something. They got a real strong-headed governor down there. He is doing a good job. I can understand what Dan, the problem he has down there with this guy, but no, it was wrong. They shouldn't have done that. And we're all lining up. We're ready to go down. Thank you.
Well, I'm a lawyer too. And, you know, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. You can raise taxes.
Right.
You can raise taxes. You can enact pro-abortion laws. You can over-regulate. But should you just because you can? No. I was appalled. I was there in the audience, sitting in the back row with a bunch of other people who were all muttering under their breath like I was, and then we had a secret meeting of the Liberty candidates at luncheon. There they all were. No, it was, you can do it, but it stinks. I mean, it's the kind of misrepresentation that allows non-conservatives to portray themselves as conservatives. Kasich can now go out and say, there are a lot of conservatives in Ohio, and they all supported me. And they all do support me, and that's not true. So, anyway, that's my answer.
One of the things that I feel that is the advantage of that happening is it's waking up a sleeping giant. And you know what? It's getting people off the couch and involved. And that's gonna be the difference. If we don't like what goes on, then we need more voices to say we don't like what's going on. And, you know, I didn't agree with that by any means. And you know, I've heard some negative things though. One of the things that I have learned to, you know, like is most of those people that are there are caring citizens like you and me. They just have a different perspective on things. If we want things changed, then we need to get more of us involved. And that's the bottom line. They start doing things like that, then they're gonna have some scrapping people on their hands, more. So that's my view.
Trying to pick up the papers.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. When I was growing up, there were a few things that upset my mother. But if you lied to her, wow, watch out. I won't go into detail because if it happened today, she'd probably be called off by the police. But she was a very loving mother. But there's a little girl in the back of that room, and you ask her what Grammy thinks about lying, there's no doubt. You teach them young. That was a flat-out, bold-faced lie. And it was self-serving. It wasn't about Roger's Rules of Order. It was about serving themselves so that they could go forward with this puffed-up chest that said, we are 100% for John Kasich. Well, guess what? We're not.
Question number 4 for Mr. Carter. Again, another long question, Mr. Carter. The Ohio Republican State Central Committee has rules in place that they, as a group, can endorse candidates for State Central Committee. But that endorsement is limited to incumbents only. They subsequently endorsed all incumbents except for 2 members who happen to be the leaders of the small but outspoken group of conservatives on the committee. Should the Ohio Republican State Central Committee be using an endorsement process where they are endorsing themselves? Why or why not?
Yes, they should. We should be able to endorse ourselves if that's one of the rules that you're able to do is to endorse. You don't get many people that don't do it. And the 2 people who weren't endorsed wanted to be endorsed. So, I mean, there's a lot, this goes back and forth, you know, who gets endorsed, who doesn't. But I can think of 4 people this past time who said, no, we do not want the endorsement out of the 66. The rest of the people said, yes, we'll endorse ourselves, and they did. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to tap dance around it because that's exactly what happened. But there were only 4 people who didn't want it. And there were some good conservatives that wanted it. That's all I can say. That's what happened.
I don't know if that helps or not being endorsed by the state party. That might have hurt them. I don't know. Anyways, Lake County doesn't endorse. So you don't endorse the State Central Committee. I don't think anybody should endorse the state central. How are you going to build a party when the guys that are holding the football make the rules? Don't work. Can't play an honest game. I don't think that even made sense, but it made sense in my mind. You can't. You got to give everybody a free chance to get back up. You got to get this country back up and rolling again. Everybody's got to. You got to bring them up from the grassroots and get rid of the ones that are causing problems down there and get rolling again, which we will. We'll roll again. Thanks. Thanks.
Well, if I get elected, I'm number 5, voting against endorsements. I don't like the kind of built-in strategic advantages which the establishment takes. Endorsing probably allows them to have money. You should win based on your heart and your philosophy and your ability to serve the people, nothing else. There shouldn't be this kind of advantage that they can give themselves. So I will be number 5. I think I know why they're doing it. I think it goes back to the idea that you run for office and it's your seat. It's not the people's seat, it's your seat. I got it, I'm gonna get a benefit off it, I'm gonna get my wife a job with the state from it, and I wanna keep it, it's mine. That's entirely the wrong attitude. It is the people's seat, and you serve them, they don't serve you, and you don't take shortcuts or cheat to get advantages to win. I'm 5.
No, Denise.
Sorry, I thought we were starting in one.
I'm sorry.
You answered the question.
Yes, there is those endorsements, and frankly, I have my own doubts as far as if it's ethical when I hear everybody else saying the same thing. I was endorsed, because I've been an incumbent, and I was endorsed, and I took it just like everybody else. But when I hear the arguments for it, I'm going to have to do some soul searching if I'm in that position again, whether I'm going to do that again. And if it's wrong, and if the majority of us think that it's wrong, then perhaps it is wrong. Maybe I wouldn't do that. Maybe I'll just stand up and say, no, I'm going to decline. So and just let the people decide. I think that's a great option.
I'm 6. Absolutely not. It's called elitism. It's self-serving, entitlement. It's because you can do it, you should do it. I suppose I could beat my dog at home, but should I? No. We really have to get back to basic integrity, folks. We're missing integrity. We have lied to ourselves so long that we don't even recognize when we're lying. And so when the truth comes out, it's a violation. Honesty is never a violation. And this should not happen. I'm 6.
I like the way this guy approaches the audience. Can you guys hear me okay without the microphone? It is a shameless practice, the SCC, that goes and endorses themselves because they're the ones who finance the campaigns. They open themselves up to the benefit of the resources of the Republican Party to be able to send their own mailers out, get their own information around, and have their name on the ticket for the voter's guide. It's exactly shameless. It's the only thing I can say. It's unethical practice. It should not be a part of the political system at all. It continues the crony, corrupt, conflicted, politician, dirty politics. That's the reason everybody complains, is because these politicians are serving themselves, opening themselves up to their own, for their own benefit. They're down there with government contracts. I can guarantee you the people who endorse John Kasich, a lot of them are going to get favors for that. And the ones who did not endorse will not. And it's just the principle. You've got to clear out the garbage from the basement up.
Number 7.
Okay, this question goes first to Mr. Murphy. And we're all finished with the hard questions. So we have 2 softball questions and then questions from the audience.
I need a softball.
Okay, who is your favorite Republican presidential candidate, and please explain why?
Well, I like Trump, and I'll tell you why. This guy already did a lot of good for this country. I don't know if he's going to make it all the way. There's a lot of funny stuff going on. But this is a heck of a guy. This guy's got $7 billion. He takes his time to go out and run for the President of the United States and try to help the country. That's the way I look at him now. He's trying to help this country. I don't really know if he wants to be president. I can't sell myself on it, but he's done a lot of good. He straightened out the world is lining up. They know they're in trouble all around the world, this guy, and they know the American people aren't happy. I like that finger up there, huh? I like that. They know he's not happy, and I mean, they know America's not happy. We're gonna do something about it. He got everybody riled up. He's my man. He's my man. I think he'll do a great job. Thank you.
Well, my favorite candidate was Carly Fiorina, but she's not in anymore, so I would favor any of the non-establishment candidates. Cruz and Rubio really are the ones I favor. I'm not sure what Trump is. I'm not sure he's a conservative. I'm not even sure he's a Republican, frankly. But Bush, oh, God save us from another Bush. No Bush 3, I don't want that. So I would say Cruz and Rubio are my favorites.
Well, I've been all along behind Cruz. I had went and heard his father speak, and he was so riveting, he brought me to tears. And when I know that Ted Cruz knows the Constitution by heart, I just really believe I believe he holds my values and my conservative views. And he has been proven to stand up alone on his principles when others would back down. So I'm True Blue Cruz plan backer. And then right behind that would be Rubio, and that's just because my boys love Rubio so much. And I've heard him speak and I like him too. But Cruz is number one for me.
Well, let me depart from the Rubio fan club. I spent 3 winters down in Florida when he was young as a senator, and he did nothing. And when it came to amnesty, he became Cuban instead of American. And let me tell you, my grandparents came over. They were Slovak, Slovenian, and they didn't even speak their native language out of the house. You were American first. You assimilated into this country. I like Cruz for that. I like him because of his faith also. But I'm wondering if the fight is so big that really maybe we need a bulldog. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of scrapping going on. And so I love what Trump, how he just really pounds the results and how he says the things that people are thinking, but they want to be politically correct and not say. So if I had my druthers, I would make a merger of Cruz and Trump.
That's okay. I will support whoever the Republican nominee is, whether it's Arnold Ziffel, Governor Kasich, or Donald Trump. Trump is a wild card, loose cannon to me. He talks like a 4th grader, but you know, I'll absolutely support him. I would have to say on issues, on gravity of the seriousness of this nation, probably I will vote for Senator Cruz. I was asked that by the Dave Joyce phone calls. I think about a lot of Christians who said, you know, I'm a conservative Christian, I'm not going to vote for Romney, he's a this or that, or Mormon, whatever. But look at the difference of the way that our country would really be today if Romney was president. So I will support whoever the Republican nominee is.
Glad you got rid of the tomatoes. I will support whoever the Republican nominee is. I think John Kasich is the man for the job. And I know most folks don't agree with me. But I think back, and I think if you looked at Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan, he voted for the assault weapons ban, he voted for the Brady Bill, he expanded Medicaid. Yes, he did all those things. Reagan, if you're with me 80% of the time, you're with me. I've seen John Kasich advance. He's gotten better. He listens. This is my opinion. And I'd be a liar if I got up here and said, oh, I'm for Ted Cruz. You know, that's really who I want to have. And, you know, people might like to hear that. But I am for Kasich. But I will be behind any Republican because I never, ever want to see Supreme Court appointments, attorney generals, and other people in just in this country ever again.
Final question, Mr. Sassy starts. In the Republican primary race for Congress in the 14th district here, which of the two candidates do you prefer and why?
Oh, wow. Well, Matt Lynch. I am reminded of an incident which occurred, I think, 4 years ago. Chuck was a part of it. There was, I think it was a pro-life bill, and it had languished for 8 months or so, 6 months, without Dave Joyce taking a position. And then I think Chuck took out petitions to run for Congress, and Dave Joyce signed on as a co-sponsor the next day. I'm reminded of an evaluation of a federal employee I once heard, which was supposedly true. The supervisor said, he works well when trapped like a rat and watched every minute. I think that probably applies to Dave Joyce. And I think we'd be better off with someone of actual principle and character who is truly conservative. So I support Matt Lynch.
I support Matt Lynch simply because I know him personally. I've talked to him. I know he's conservative. And that's what I'm looking for. Frankly, I don't really know Dave Joyce all that well. Never met him. I've heard good things about him. You know, I've talked to fellow Republicans a lot, and I know that they're wholeheartedly, and I've talked to some conservative Republicans who support Dave Joyce. So I'm not going to do any Dave Joyce bashing whatsoever, but I do. I know Matt personally, and I'm going to be behind him.
I know Matt personally for a number of years, worshiped with him. I am definitely behind him. But in addition to that, I wouldn't vote for Dave Joyce for a couple of reasons, and I hope you all will hear this. He is a place card holder for Sarah LaTourette to move into Congress. The way that Dave Joyce was put into office by Steve LaTourette at a time that the voters had nothing to say about it, he was put in there conditionally that he will move out when Sarah is ready to move in, which is why it is so dangerous for her husband, Scott Kaiser, and her lifelong best friend, Amy Sabbath, to get on the District 18 Central Committee for the state of Ohio. They will just be there as her major support when she moves into Congress. Folks, we are going to be having LaTourette on steroids if that happens.
That's right.
And let me just tell you, he was no friend of the Republican Party.
That's right.
He voted just like Dennis Kucinich. So Matt Lynch, 3,000%.
There you go.
I know Dave Joyce from being out in Chardon as a Geauga County prosecutor. He's a good man, he's a good father. He's the brother-in-law of my friend Denise Valachi. I see though, unfortunately, that he is tainted by Washington. He has a record of being one of the more liberal Republicans in Washington right now. It's time to get him out before he's really dirty, and put Matt Lynch in.
Well, none of you have my congressperson, so you're very, very, very lucky. Again, I'm glad there's no tomatoes. Because if I were here, I would support Dave Joyce. I've known Dave for a long time. I think he's a good guy. Does he vote as conservative as I'd like him to? No. But does he listen when you call and say, look, Dave, I think you ought to get behind this letter that's coming out of the House chairman when they want to ban green tip ammo and get against that? Yeah, he'll do that kind of stuff. I don't know Matt Lynch. I can't say anything. I've had several conversations with him over the years, but we don't know each other. But again, you folks at least have a choice up here. I hope Beth Goldstein makes it down for us, because that's the only chance we have.
I wrote, produced, and hosted American News and Views radio show, WELW, for 20 years, me and your good friend, Dale Fellows. And we brought on Dave Joyce and interviewed him when he was running for Congress. And he did a real good job on the radio. But there's a problem with the Lake County Republican Party, and the root of that problem is La Tourette. And the person that is behind Dave Joyce, of course, is La Tourette. And you heard a lot of it right now. You heard how bad this problem is. That's got to be like tore out, and it's got to be thrown away. And the Republican Party in Lake County has got to come back again. The only way to do that is to tear that root out. I'm for Dave, for Lynch. He's a heck of a guy. I'm for him, yeah.
Okay, we have a little bit of time for questions from the audience. So who would like to go first? Alice?
I was a precinct committee woman in Euclid for a while, but I'm not real clear of this when you get endorsed. So I'm not sure, does that mean you're automatically winning, or I'm confused?
No, it doesn't. I ran, the first time I ran, I had 3 opponents. I had 2 from Cuyahoga County and 1 from Lake County. I was not endorsed. You know, you just gotta go and scramble the endorsement, and I mean, all you gotta do is go to Lake County or Cuyahoga County to the endorsement meetings and see how many of these folks come in and want to be endorsed. So, I mean, the endorsement means something. Yes, it was mentioned before, I can't remember who in the audience mentioned, that then you'll get party funds. Basically what you get is you get 1 mailer with your name on it, it's a slate card. I'm sure you've all gotten them in the mail over the time. You'll get one from the state sends a slate card out, and the county party sends a slate card out. So that's what the endorsement gets. And that's why people go for the endorsements. But I've never seen anybody not show up in Lake County or Cuyahoga County when it's endorsement day and not ask for an endorsement. Even some of the 7.
I have. I was at the endorsement meeting for Lake County, and Kim Laurie did not seek endorsement and doesn't feel there should be endorsements. And when you endorse in a primary, you're going to rip a party apart for whoever gets the nomination in the primary. And it's not good strategically, and it's an unfair advantage. So I've been there, and I take that position too.
Another question? You guys have done really well tonight. Is there no other questions? Oh, okay. Steve?
All right. Hi, Steve Stoltz. Some of you have already touched on this, but I'm going to ask all of you. Full disclosure. I'm on the board of directors of Lake County Rifle. Speak to me, each of you.
Did you want to go like?
Let's go, start with Greg and work right across.
Well, I mean, I was a prosecutor for a number of years. Chuck urged me to run for the county prosecutor, but I said I really can't do that, because if I did that, I'd end up indicting Planned Parenthood, and they'd be shipping people in from Seattle to campaign against me. I think it's appalling what's going on.